Hey guys, so today we are doing notes on rotations. We are still in our Unit 1, Transformations and Congruences, so we're looking at different ways to move shapes and points and images on a coordinate plane. At this point, your table of contents should be updated and look like mine. So today's notes will be page 5 and page 6, which will be rotations and rotation examples. So let's just look through. We've got translations, which was the first example we looked at, which was sliding a figure, just adding or subtracting numbers to your x values. We had reflections, which flipped your image over a specific axis or a line, and there were different tricks and rules to help you remember that. And then today we're going to look at rotation. So this should be page 5 in your notebook. And I have attached blank copies to the Google Classroom for today. If you're able to print them, paste them in your notebook and follow along, that's awesome. And if you can't, as always, you can handwrite these in as best as you can. Pause the video if you need to do that, and if you're taking a little bit longer to handwrite those than I would be with my printed notes, that's totally fine. You are more than willing to do that. So rotations is literally just like what it sounds like in the name. When you rotate something or you turn something. So rotation is a transformation that is turned based on a fixed point. So if you put your finger on a specific point on the outside part of that smiley face and spun it around, it would be turning around that point where your finger is, or that axis. So there are different levels that you can rotate your image. This x-axis right here is where you start and where you end. So as you can see, it says 360 degrees counterclockwise or 360 degrees clockwise. So if you didn't know, when you're looking at a clock, the hands on a clock go this way. This is called clockwise. So if it was 12 o'clock, the hands are going to go all the way around till they get back to the top. And then it's 1 o'clock, and then it's 2 o'clock, and so on and so forth. So going in this direction is clockwise. Most angles actually go counterclockwise. So if you start here, this is 0. If you move and you make a 90-degree angle, you end up coming up to right here. So from here to the top is a 90-degree angle, and that's counterclockwise because we're going in the opposite direction of a clock. When you make it halfway around this circle, and you're now here, from the start to where we are now, that's 180. That's half of a circle. So if I were to draw that from here around to here, you can see that's half of a circle. And then if I kept going, a full circle would be 360 degrees. So if we cut 360 degrees into 4 pieces, we have 90, 180, 270, 360. And so that's really going to be important because you can rotate any one of those amounts. So it may say a 90-degree rotation or a 270-degree rotation, which would be all the way down to here. And it also depends on where you start, just so you know. So we'll always be able to come back to this, but know that we start here. This is 0 on this line. And then we make angles from there. This is a 90-degree angle, hence why you have a right angle right here. This is a 90-degree angle. 2 of those makes 180. This is another one. 3 of those makes 270. So 90, 90, 90, and then another 90. So in the middle here, you've got 4 right angles, which all make 90 degrees. So let's look at how we rotate. Again, there's tricks to help you remember things to do with your ordered pair, your coordinates here. So a 90-degree clockwise rotation or a 270-degree counterclockwise rotation. It's the same thing. What I want you to remember is these get flipped. So as you can see, our y is first and our x is second. That's not how a normal ordered pair is. Normally, when we write our coordinates, it's x, comma, y. But here we're going to flip them, and then we're going to change the sign of the second number. So if it was positive, it will now be negative. If it was originally a negative number, you're just going to change it to a positive number. So let's write down the points for these A, B, and C, the coordinates for all of them. So the coordinates for A is 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1. The coordinates for B are 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. The coordinates for C are 1, 1. Okay, so it wants us to rotate either 90 degrees clockwise or 270 degrees counterclockwise. Let me show you what that looks like. This is 0, right? This is where we start. So if we go 90 degrees, so I'm just going to put these up here. This can also be 360. So if we started here, 90 degrees is one quadrant, right? That's a 90-degree angle. So I want you to take this image from where it is and rotate 90 degrees. So we've got to go from one quadrant to the next quadrant. And it says 90 degrees clockwise. So if clocks turn this way, we've got to go from this square down to this square. Remember, each quadrant is 90 degrees. So if we are rotating 90 degrees, we are moving one quadrant. So 90 degrees clockwise will come down to this one. Or 270, which we know is 1, 2, 3 quadrants. From this first quadrant, we can go 1, 2, 3. So we can either move 3 this way and land here, or we can just move 1 this way and also land there. So you can either go backwards or forwards. If you go backwards, you're going to have to go a little bit further. But they're both the same thing, which is why they tell you either 90 degrees clockwise or 270 degrees counterclockwise. It's going to get you to the same place. So if we do that, what is our new coordinates going to be? Well, let's apply this rule. Let's flip our x and our y and change that x. So the y comes first now, and the x is going to be negative 3. The y comes first, and the x will be negative. The y comes first, and the x will be negative. So these points should give us an image in this quadrant because we have seen how each quadrant is 90 degrees. 90, 180, 270, 360. So 90 degree clockwise is one square. So let's plot them. 1, negative 3 is A. 4, negative 3 is B. And 1, negative 1 is C. And it does look to me like we took this and we literally just rotated it 90 degrees. We went shoop. Or you can say that we took it around 3 times and ended up down here. We literally took that and went around the center or the origin and ended up down here. So that is how you rotate 90 degrees, one quadrant, or 3 counterclockwise, going backwards. So let's look at 180. What if we want to rotate an image 180 degrees? 180 degrees counterclockwise or clockwise is the same thing, right? Because you're going halfway. So I can either start here and go around 2 quadrants this way, or I can go around 2 quadrants this way, right? 180 is 2 of our squares. We know that one square is 90 degrees and another square is 90 degrees. And 90 and 90 is 180 degrees. So from here, I can either go counterclockwise 2 times or clockwise 2 times. I will still end up in the same place. So for these, they're the same either way. So let's look at the image we have and plot our points. I think the points are the same again. I'm going to use orange this time. We're going to move into, as we finish up with these transformations, we're going to move into congruence and angles and shapes and all that. So go ahead and make yourself kind of get a little accustomed to degrees, refresh your memory on those. Feel free to write them down and get more used to those. So our image here has coordinates 1, 2, 3, 1. 3, 1, 3, 4, and 1, 1. So when we rotate, I'll just write the primed letters here. When we rotate this image 180 degrees, from here, we need to go 2 quadrants, 90, 180. We should be down here. Now, it's hard to look at this and say, okay, now where in this quadrant do I put the points, and how did it turn? So that's why these little tricks are important. Take your coordinates from the pre-image, from the first points that you're given, and change both values to the opposite sign. So above this, I want you to write change both signs. So the new image is now going to be -3, -1, -3, -4, -1, -1. And if you think about it, that makes total sense. If this is the line, not only are we going to spin it around to the other side of the circle, we're now in the negative. If we were up here in the positive, we're going to be in the negative on the y-axis. If we were in the negative on the x, we're going to be in the positive on the x. So everything is just flipping here. So let's plot -3, -1, -3, -4, -1, 1. So yeah, we took this and we spun it around and rotated it 180 degrees. And again, you can start here and go clockwise, or you can start here and go counterclockwise. When you rotate, you need to realize it's not just being pulled to the left and then dropped down. That is a translation. It is literally turning. So it is going around the center here. So as it comes into this quadrant, it's kind of, that would just be a 90-degree rotation right there. And the rule for a 90-degree rotation is to flip it and make it opposite. So we flip this, so it would be 1. Let's see here. Y -x. Y 1. -4, 3, -1. So as it's coming around, it's actually, oops, that is not a straight line there, and I apologize. It is actually rotating and then rotating again. So it's not only moving and changing its location, but it's spinning, like it's actually turning. So as it moves, I want you to realize that the shape is rotating and turning, not only where it's at, but the actual shape itself. And then this last one, it tells us, so the first one told us how to go 90 degrees clockwise. So that would drop it down below us. This one tells us how to move it 180 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise. And then this last one is how to go 90 degrees counterclockwise, which if a clock moves like this is going to be counterclockwise. So this is going to take this image and drop it to the left, which is what I just did up here. I got confused. I was applying the old rule instead of the new rule. But if we want to flip it to the left, that is going to be a 90 degree counterclockwise rotation. And so that is going to be -yx. And the previous one was y -x, as you can see right there. So you flip them and you do the opposite sign. And this one, you flip them and the y gets the opposite sign. So the first time you flipped them, the x did, this time the y does. So flip and opposite sign to the y. So again, the points are the same. I'm going to put them here. 3, 1, 3, 4, and 1, 1. So these are these 3 points. That's the actual coordinates. When we rotate it based on what it's asking us to do, So from here, 270 degrees is 3 quadrants. So clockwise would be 1, 2, 3. We're trying to get here. Or from here, you can do a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation, which will put you right here. Same thing. We're going to take these points and apply this rule. So we're going to flip the values. So the y comes first and then the x, and the y becomes negative. Now let's plot these points and see. -1, 3. -4, 3. And -1, 1. And as you can see, that is literally the image I just rotated up here when I was trying to show y'all the movement from this quadrant to this quadrant, and we skipped over that one, and I kind of drew it in with the little dots here. That is this. That is a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation on its way to a 180-degree rotation. So what I want you to think is each square is a 90-degree square. So whatever the total is, that's how many squares you need to move. If they want you to move 90 degrees, that's 1 square. It's 1 quadrant from wherever you're starting. If they want you to move 180 degrees, that's 2 squares or 2 quadrants. A 270-degree rotation is 3 quadrants, and a 360-degree rotation, you're going to end up where you started. Now, counterclockwise and clockwise is important to note so they're not putting it in the wrong place. So if you need to, put your pencil down and rotate your pencil the way that the clock hands go so you can see which way you need to be moving, and that way you know when you're looking at your graph which way to go. And if you get confused, if you know which quadrant you need to be in, and then you get confused on your tricks and how to change your ordered pairs and your coordinates, look back at these notes. They're going to be super helpful for you to do that. So that is all I have for your notes for rotation today. I hope that wasn't too long, and we will do practice with that as well. Thank you guys.